Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Richard. Richard is from Liverpool, but he lives in London, in the UK. So let's see what Richard has to say. Enjoy the interview. Yes, I can see you now. Hello,
Hi.
Richard. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Nice and relaxed. I've had a lazy day. How about you?
Very well. Thanks so much for taking the time this evening for the interview. Thank you.
No problem.
So tell me, how was your day? How's your day been so far? What have you been doing today?
Not much. Well, no, I've been tidying. I just did the Tom of Finland Foundation's art fair this weekend, so it was fun, and you get to meet a lot of like-minded people. And it was in the Standard Hotel in London, and it's just a lot of kind of queer artists showing their wares. And I was on the Tom of Finland Presents table, which was really nice. And yeah, it was a fun weekend. And then today I've just been kind of sorting everything, organizing all my work and folders and whatnot. My spare room I'm in at the moment is not the most inspiring backdrop. In front of me, I've got all my artwork and everything, and behind me is just all, an extra rail of clothes and whatnot.
Oh.
I'm sorry about the magnolia misery for the background.
It's all right. So tell me, where are you from, Richard?
I'm originally from Liverpool in England.
Wow, Liverpool, amazing. But now I believe you're living in London right now.
Yeah. I moved here.
And how long?
Yeah, I moved here 12 years ago. I think 12 and a half years ago, something like that.
All right. And why the change from Liverpool to London?
I mean, it's the standard. I work in fashion and art, so it's kind of inevitable, really, to kind of be in the hive of it all. And I had a friend who moved here as well, and she works in art. She works in fashion, and when I studied in Leeds, but I would come down to London for nights out with her, and I've got my circle of friends here, and it's very much home right now.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about your career. You are an artist, so walk me through a little bit about your art, your career.
Okay, I'll try and give the bio synopsis. I mean, I've gone along with the term illustrator for years, and there's always a hot debate between what is an artist and what is an illustrator, and that's a whole other conversation. But for me, an illustrator is very much someone who works for commissions. An artist is someone who works for themselves and maybe directly with galleries. So for the best part of 10 years, I was working as a menswear illustrator. So one of my first gigs was actually probably one of my most, I don't know if you want to say, prolific. That was an exhibition for René Gruau, who did all of Christian Dior's illustrations, and they had this really amazing exhibit at Somerset House, and I was asked to do something for that. And I wasn't even particularly focused on menswear particularly, but I had a row of commissions that were all menswear based, and I kind of got labeled a menswear illustrator just by chance. And then it followed that I kept on drawing men and menswear. I did a book with the publishers, just like a compilation book about menswear illustrators, and it was kind of that routine for the best part of 10 years. I also lectured and do lecture at a few London universities as well to fashion students. And I think about 3 years ago in the pandemic, my style just changed completely. I had enough of that style. I kind of reached a breaking point with it. And I'd done some big jobs. I'd done Elton John's Diamonds album. That was probably the biggest. And they used that for the opening of his tour, which I didn't even know. Someone pointed it out to me, although it had been altered a lot. What else? A lot of menswear jobs. Now I'm an artist. I'm very much kind of erotic artist, if you want. It's still male focused. It's not always nude and erotic. They do sell better though. You just stick a big blue dick in it and it'll usually sell more.
Amazing. Yes, I was checking your art, through your social media, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Wow, very good. Right. So through the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your career, about your point of views in life. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So before we started our journey within the Magic Box, I would like you to tell me something interesting about yourself.
Okay. Oh, this has put me on the spot. Wow. Okay, so there's also another Richard Kilroy illustrator who lives in LA who managed to find me completely by accident because they were researching something I was writing about in my blog when I was in university. And it turned out we both have the same name. We're both white with blue eyes and dark hair and Irish heritage. We're both, he's more of a, definitely an artist, special effects artist and fine art reproduction. He worked on a few movies like Terminator 2 and I think Blade Runner as well. And he did a lot of background scenery. We ended up both doing Star Wars related jobs, and sometimes I'd post about things and go, that's actually in my gym. And then years later, I would always joke to my friends saying, wouldn't it be funny if he was gay? And we both went on a date together. I could say I went all the way to LA to fuck myself. It turned out he wasn't actually gay in the end as well. So and I joke with my friends that he's probably just me with a mustache, but now I've got a mustache. So that's one interesting fact, I guess. I don't want to call him a doppelganger because he's older than me. But we always just find these parallels, which is really funny.
Wow. But you didn't manage to go on a date?
No. Well, I've got a partner. And then when I was in LA, we didn't get to meet anyway through whatever, but yeah.
Let me see your blue eyes closer.
I don't know. I'm probably just look tired. And I'm more tan, they look more blue. They probably look more green at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Richard, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Yeah, go ahead.
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So from the fun questions, I'm just going to play a song now just for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just let's do it. You can dance with me as well, if you feel like.
I can't hear anything.
Richard, through the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Yeah.
Right, first question for you is, if I would ask your best friend right now to define yourself in one positive word and one negative word, what your best friend would say?
I can think of one phrase maybe rather than one word. Detail orientated. For me, that's positive. The negative would be negative. I can be quite negative sometimes.
Oh, interesting. What's your star sign?
Leo.
Leo. Ooh.
It's my birthday in about 2 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Oh my God. And any plans for your birthday? Do you like celebrating your birthday?
I used to really I used to plan a lot in advance against being detail orientated. I think my friend just used to laugh so much at me because I remember laminating my invites months before my birthday when I was like 19 or 20. It's so lame. But I just love the graphic thing of creating them. What was the question again?
Would you like to celebrate your birthday?
I'm not as bothered now. No, I don't really care. I'll just go with some friends to the park and have some food and drinks, I think. We were going to do the Crystal Maze. Do you know the Crystal Maze in the US? Did you have that?
It rings a bell, the name, but I'm not familiar.
It was a huge TV show here for years when I was a kid, and I loved it. And it was like a big puzzle TV show where you'd have teams running around different zones, and each person got put in a room and had to solve a puzzle, and they'd get a crystal if they won. And at the end, they'd put it all together and they'd get inside a giant crystal and try and grab a load of money. And now they've made it like a live experience, but they've kind of recreated it quite faithfully. So the idea is you get a group of friends and it's like a big fun, like in a game show with a presenter for an hour or two. But it's also not cheap, and I didn't want to tell my friends that they needed to do it. So I thought we'll just go with drinks and food. I'll do Crystal Maze another time.
Amazing. When you were define yourself as, in a positive and negative words, when you think about yourself, when you analyze yourself, what's the best part of being you? What's the best part of being Richard?
this is going to sound like a really cheesy Miss America answer, but I'm quite simple with that. Sometimes I just think I'm happy I've got my five senses. I'm happy I can, walk and see and taste, and I'm always really grateful for that. And it's very easy to forget. I think actually one of my jobs lecturing, I pass a blind home every morning, and sometimes if I'm having a bad morning, and then I see someone with an assistant and a dog, and I obviously, that sounds really patronizing, but I think I'm grateful I've got my senses, and life's not as hard as it could be. So yeah, if it's about me more specifically, see, I deal with compliments very badly, but I get complimented on my drawing a lot because that's what I do. So I know I've got skills in detail, and I'm very happy with where my work has taken me and what I've done. Yeah, so I guess that's my kind of positives about being me.
Very good. Next question. Let's do it. Right. Next question is, where are you planning to go for your next holidays?
Well, it's funny you say that because I've done quite a few city breaks this year already, and I've just finished one. I don't have any planned, although Mexico is always my number one to get around to doing, and I keep meaning to do it all the time. This year, I've actually done a lot of city breaks for just a few days. So Vienna, Budapest, Rome, Berlin, and Paris. Living in Europe, we've got close access to it. But yeah, Mexico is always definitely on the top of my list, I think. I've got family in Australia that I always say I'll go and see. And they've been here a few times, so it's about time I saw them as well. Yeah.
And do you planning to stay in London, to live in London for a while?
Never say never. I'm happy here. Even though UK is not exactly in its best place right now with politics and price hikes and Brexit, which is just to clarify, I'm not a Brexiteer, and I hate what Brexit has brought about in this country, and our political leaders are an absolute mess, and they're really disgusting. And yeah, that's the frightening thing about being here. However, I am still happy. I'm doing all right. I'm learning German at the moment. I find German quite easier than when I've tried to practice Spanish or French. And I go to Berlin, at least once a year, and I've got a friend who lives there. So maybe in the future, Berlin, possibly.
And why German? It's just because you are connected with the country? Yeah.
I guess it's just one of those easy transitions. I mean, East London, East Berlin, gay culture, gay clubs, gay art scene. It's like if you go to East Paris or East New York, creative scenes, and there's usually overflows, and it's not the most difficult transition, I don't think. I think the language is just the biggest barrier.
See. All right.
Well, that's very sumptuous of me, but it might be.
Next question. Let's do it, Richard. Amazing. You're getting there. You warm me up.
I need a drink.
Richard, before the next question, when you think about Liverpool, what's the best memory that comes to your mind? Tell me how was growing up as a gay boy back in Liverpool.
I came out when I was 16, which realistically, actually, in my mind, wasn't young, but it sounds young now in retrospect. So maybe it wasn't that terrifying for me to come out. I mean, I got the usual bit of bullying in school. I kind of kept my head down, and there was a much gayer friend nearby who seemed to take most of the flak. I guess, I don't know. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of memories. I didn't move out until I was 22. I think between stages of education, I had about 2 years where I wasn't studying. I was just I was working in retail. I was going out, every weekend. And some of that was a bit of a waste of time for me. But I think actually it's just my first experience of going out. I was very lucky when I was 17, 18. We had Garlands in the UK, in Liverpool, which was at that time, it was always kind of rated the #1 club in the UK, and it was a gay club. And it was very fun. It was very silly. It was my first experience of going to a gay club, and it was quite big, and there was loads of drag queens, and they were doing very silly things, like they have like a little Wendy house and seesaw, and we're doing stuff on stages, and sometimes, like, it probably sounds like very studenty now, actually, but at the time it was fun because it was really cool music, but it was also completely not pretentious. It was very fun, it was very silly, it was very camp. And between 17 and 19, that was kind of like my golden era where I was, starting to, just have more fun, become more of an adult, and it was very formative.
And do you have siblings as well?
Sorry, say that again?
Do you have siblings as well, or not? You're the only child?
No, I have a half brother. But yeah, we never lived together, so no, single Leo child.
And your parents, your family, they're all back in Liverpool?
Yes.
Okay. Next question for you is, if you could change something in yourself or about yourself, what that would be and why?
I think I need to be more proactive at being social outside of work hours. Yeah, actually, because I think being a big part of the fashion industry is meeting a lot of people. I hate the term networking. I wouldn't even say that, but just, a big part of working in creative fields and collaborating with people and getting to know people is meeting people. And I definitely did that more when I moved to London, but now I'm, a bit lazier sometimes. And I have a real phobia and anxiety around small talk. So even this Tom of Finland exhibit over the weekend, which was great, and I met a lot of really cool people. At the same time, if I sense small talk, I'm like, and it's all part of the process. But I have an anxiety towards networking. And I think I used to have a housemate who worked for the British Fashion Council, and she was out every night. She just didn't sleep hardly, and I don't have that kind of capacity in me anymore to be working all day and then kind of working all night and working the room, and you kind of need that in fashion. And mine's kind of burnt out a little bit. I need to get that back a little bit, I think.
Okay. Next question. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Next one. Next question for you is, what scares you the most about your future?
What do I care most about the future?
What scares you the most?
This is definitely where my negativity comes in. I don't really have much faith in the human race. I'm quite negative, and I don't see us getting out of this climate catastrophe and capitalism and all these things that we have been born into, and these very systematic structures that we really are intertwined with. I went through a big phase of being fascinated by people who really try to remove themselves from society and just live out in, completely self-supportive and not using plastics or anything. And I think anyone who can do as much as possible is greatly admirable. I recycle and I don't drive, but it frightens me. And, especially in the summers, it just gets worse when you just see everything about heat waves, and it's just like this horrendous spiral of fear, because it's the truth at the same time. And unless someone invents a big cooling machine for the planet or something, I don't see how we're going to get out of it. Too many people have got too many individual dreams that involves a lot of, burning fuels and traveling and flying for jobs. And that's another thing that I have really big issues with the fashion industry is people traveling to really far-flung exotic locations for the sake of one fashion show. And it's just like, that's my big negative thing. I just go into a big death spiral with that. And I remember saying all of this to one person I just met in a networking setting, and they just turned to their partner and went, "Come on, should we go?" And just promptly left. And I thought, oh God, shut up, Richard. If you're going to talk about anything, don't talk about the end of the world.
Do you think that this, all the situations that's happening right now, do you think it will get better? It would get better some point, or you think it's going to get worse?
It's probably not what you want to hear, but I just think it's going to get worse. have not really saved for my future because I genuinely don't think there's going to be one. I don't see myself going to pensioner age. It would be great, and I hope I do. And it's just a lot of hope at the moment. I keep seeing, we all see tiny crumbs of hope. And you watch news reports; they're very keen to just give you half an hour of complete devastation and death, and mass killings and fires. But then they have to end on a nice 2-minute clip to end with something positive, like the Barbenheimer, or whatever at the moment. And it's like, that's not enough for me for hope. I need. I think I think I need to delete my news apps or something. And sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yes, absolutely. I think when you know all those information throw up on you, sometimes it just gets you sometimes in a not in a good place, I would say.
I mean, I cope with it, but yeah, that's the negative stuff that comes in. That's the dark, scary stuff.
Okay, next question. Let's do it.
Some light, fluffy stuff.
Sorry again.
Let's do some light, fluffy stuff.
Yes, let's play some music to get in another direction. Before the next question, tell me what's the best part of being an artist? What's the biggest joy of it?
Being able to, it's quite cathartic and it's quite meditative. I've always thought, drawing it's good to kind of occupy your mind, and it's something that you've become very focused. I think especially from lockdown onwards, I realized how meditative it can be, because you just get focused and you forget about the darker thoughts and depressing stuff that's on the news and whatever. My anxiety definitely went up during that whole period, and I think previously when I was doing a lot of pencil commissions for the best part of 10 years, it was more stressful because I would be very self-analytical and have imposter syndrome and all the typical art stuff. But actually, I think the positives is it's cathartic. You're able to put your thoughts, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. You're able to put your kind of interests down, and it's a very physical kind of creation of doing that. There's a word I'm trying to think for. It's not tactful. When something becomes physical, my mind's gone blank. But that's the enjoyment of it. When you can do work for yourself, and I usually do my best work when it's for myself and not in a brief, possibly. So yeah, and there's a big reason for the term art therapy, because it takes your mind off things, and you tend to focus on stuff.
Right. Next question for you is, what do you think people need to know about each other before they start a relationship?
I don't think police history, maybe, if they've been arrested. I think that's part of the process of a relationship, is getting to know someone. Don't think you ever fully know someone anyway. I think it should come as a bit of a blank slate, really. I don't think you should know too much. As long as everything's I think it's part of the experience to not know someone.
Absolutely. And your partner is from London or from Liverpool?
They're from Spain, actually.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Good. I have 3 questions left for you, okay? Let's do it. Next question for you is, tell us about your earliest memory in life.
Sometimes I think it's one that I've just made up. There's a term for that, which is just like made up memories, where you think it's a memory, but you just kind of made it up. I remember crawling on the floor. I remember the dog, because we had a dog in the family, being over me, and I remember kind of being underneath it, and just being passed around family members who'd come to visit and see me. I remember something to do with that. That's my earliest memory, probably. I remember dropping my birthday cake when I think I was 4. I fell down the stairs as well.
Oh my God.
Maybe early traumas.
Oh my Lord. I never been in Liverpool before. People, if they would come to Liverpool for the very first time, what is a place, or what's the postcard of Liverpool that people, they must, is a must to see or to go to visit, in your opinion?
Depends on your interests. For me, it's actually the kind of old abandoned docklands, because Liverpool has a big famous docking history, and it's one of one of UK's biggest docklands areas, with, because we have a river there. And now there's a lot of new buildings going up which are really nondescript and very cheap and ugly, because they're capitalizing on just investments, but I don't know if it's necessarily for the right reasons. They've just lost their heritage status. World Cultural Heritage Status, I think is the title, which is very rare, bestowed. You only get the kind of biggest cultural things in the world, and they had that and they lost it because they just built too many new buildings. And what's happening is the docks stretch for miles, and they're really beautiful old warehouses and like big grain silos, and very distinctive. And it's really cool to kind of walk along that for a few hours. And a lot of it's abandoned, and I've only done it once or twice, to be honest. But that's something that's not going to be there forever. If you go in there just as tourist anyway, I mean, it's got the most listed buildings outside of London. It's got St. George's Dock, and it had the world's first underground tunnel in a city as well. Really stunning Art Deco details. They take a lot from New York architecture, and actually Netflix uses Liverpool constantly for so many programs. So there's always something being filmed, because they use a lot of, a particular area of Liverpool as a fake backdrop for New York, basically. So architecture in itself, apart from all the other cultural stuff like music and the Beatles history, obviously Liverpool Football Club, obviously. I mean, I like to think of Liverpool as the Berlin of UK. It's got a big creative scene. It had its impoverished. No, maybe not impoverished is the best word, but it had its really bad time in the 80s, because of Margaret Thatcher, and it was, Liverpool was put into a managed decline, which were actually Margaret Thatcher's way, where they tried to deliberately decline the city and run it out. So yeah, Liverpool's got this really great history to it, and everyone who's there is very open, is very much quite proud of being from Liverpool. And yeah, I'm quite proud of Liverpool. Where there's do you know the newspaper called The Sun?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really disgusting, really right-wing, very hate-mongering. I mean, it's just, there's a whole history in terms of what they did in the press with Hillsborough, and how they navigated that really, really badly, saying Liverpool fans were, doing all these awful things, which they weren't. They've just also done this to a BBC presenter and completely construed this false narrative around a situation, and his life is pretty much ruined because of them. Again, I don't know the inside out information on that, but Liverpool still, if you go there, it's completely banned. You really are a scab. Like, if you cross the picket line, basically, Liverpool is famously anti the Sun. No one will sell it. And on all the taxis, when you go to Liverpool, it just says "Don't buy the Sun" on like all the taxis. So yeah, and it's one of the big Labour strongholds of the country, which is left wing. One of the last, actually. So I went from Liverpool to East London, which is also Labour's biggest stronghold. So yeah, I found that quite interesting.
All right, I'll make a note of that. 2 questions left. Let's do it, Richard. Before the next question, tell me, through your career, tell me a moment, when you were working fashion. Tell me a moment that you're never gonna forget, like something that happened that you go like, what, that moment's always gonna have a special place in my heart.
Right. So an interesting one. It's definitely one of my best memories, but I didn't like my work that I produced. I was asked to go to Paris and do some drawings from the couture collections. So what happened was, a French newspaper, Les Echos, have a weekend supplement where they'll report on the couture shows, But in order to do that in a timely manner, the illustrator goes to the couture houses and gets a a sneak preview along with some of the press, and you're pretty much looking at it and then drawing it, and then have it ready for the article like in advance. So I got to go around Chanel, around their ateliers, Schiaparelli, when the previous designer was there, and sit in the studio and draw some model wearing some incredible clothes, and all these clothes that are hand labored for hundreds of hours, and that was a crazy experience. Although I felt again the imposter syndrome because it was women's wear and I didn't have enough experience really drawing the female form. Some people might go, oh, what's the difference really if you can draw a body, blah blah blah, but there's differences. Some of the clothes weren't finished, so I was told, I was given a sketch, and it was nice because I got to go through Karl Lagerfeld sketches just in front of me on a table. What were the other ones? Iris van Herpen. So they were doing the castings, and I remember the models kind of going back and forth in these really incredible creations. I mean, my process is to take pictures and draw from the pictures. It's the only way for me. I'm not a live drawer, especially not when someone's moving around and turning. And if you see someone live drawing at a fashion show, it's a little bit of an act. They'll go home and work into it or redo it. So otherwise, it's just gonna be a few chicken scratches. But yeah, that was a really amazing experience. I went to Dior. The outfit that I drew, it turned out last minute that it wasn't in the show. It was covered by a coat, so they couldn't use that in the article. So they quickly said, you need to draw something else and you've got 1 hour. And then we had to go to print, and I just had a meltdown. I was like, they were like, just do something really quick, just like a basic line. And, at that point I was still doing really photorealistic drawings that would take ages. And, it was a lot. It was a lot to cram in just a few days, because you'd be going there and you'd have to draw back in the apartment in Paris and then go to the next one and go around Place Vendôme. That was an amazing experience, and I probably didn't do the best I could have, but maybe that's the imposter syndrome talking.
See. All right. Next question is, what's the best advice have you ever given to someone?
I'm always giving advice because I'm, teaching a lot. Half of teaching is just, telling people not to let their pride get in the way. And especially with drawing, I think, I probably had a whole load of advice given to me that I decided not to pay attention to. You can't absorb everything. I think I always say, you're going to hate a lot of what you do, probably about 90%. It's that 10% that matters and will take you forward creatively. Yeah, just try not to let your pride get in the way, which is an easy thing to say, because I think a lot of people who draw and work creatively, when you're a kid, you don't even maybe know what you're doing, but you enjoy it. But it's a lot to do with validation and maybe someone telling you what you're doing is good, or what needs improving. And pride can really get in the way and destroy that if you can't take well to criticism, however constructive it is. So just, water off a duck's back, in the words of Jinx Monsoon.
Amazing. Ready for the last question?
Mm-hmm.
Last question, Richard. Let's do it. But before the last question, I'm checking your drawing, your arts in your social media. Tell me if you could pick one of them for some reason, like your favorite one, or there's a meaning behind or something, which one that would be?
I think one that I really like is actually 2 autofellatio poses. I know it just sounds dirty, but actually it's the graphic form of the figure kind of going around in on itself. And I do it in quite a simplistic way. Usually they're kind of just very simple silhouettes. And I always think of when I'm doing drawings in my book, sometimes subconsciously I'm doing it almost like a magazine layout. I'm thinking about left and right pages. And that was like a little double page spread. And yeah, I wouldn't mind just having that sketchbook opened on that page in a frame. That's one that for me, I think that could be nicely mounted in a frame, intact in the sketchbook, rather than kind of pulled out as a page.
All right. Last question for you is, what is the most dramatic argument you ever had?
Don't think I want to go into relationship arguments. I'm sure I probably had loads of silly arguments with my parents. I remember being a kid and I thought my mum had taped over the Sound of Music soundtrack on my cassette, and I remember being really angry and screaming and swearing at her. But it was like in the most camp, pathetic way, and because I was just upset and being stroppy. It wasn't like an actual horrible terror child. So I just always look back on that and just cringe because I thought I'd lost Maria von Trapp there. I don't think I've ever had any. I'm not a very argumentative person. I think that's a British thing. I think there's probably more passive aggressiveness than actual aggressiveness, which isn't healthy. You know what, actually, it's an email argument. It's not, well, and a bit of a phone call argument with my publishers when I did my book years ago. They proposed a cover that was just so horrendous, and completely it contrasted with what they've been suggesting the whole time. And I think I wrote the most articulate email in my whole life, giving all the reasons why this cover couldn't go ahead. I wanted my name off the cover. I'd done research at the universities I was teaching at the time, which, student feedback. They said they wanted a certain visual for the book. This contrasted with it completely. They said I couldn't be on the cover of the book because I was too unknown, but then the person they used on the cover was far more unknown. It was a real stinker. It was really bad. And everyone I showed it to, it was just gasps of horror. And the publisher said, well, it's not up to you, it's up to the marketing team. And I knew exactly what they were doing. They were going for something that was a bit more instructional, looking like a kind of guidebook. And it was just completely not what the book was about. That's my only experience of publishing a book. And I got the cover changed to a much more pleasing cover. So I was very proud of that. And, they didn't really have a leg to stand on when it came to the reasonings, because it just totally, didn't go with what they were suggesting. So yeah, I was quite proud of that. I think I held my own on that. Normally any type of confrontational situation, I'll get a bit shaky and, trip up on my sentences because I panic, and I kind of held steady on that one and said, no, it just cannot go ahead. And we kind of reached a compromise on the cover, so I was happy with that.
I wouldn't like to be the one receiving this mail. Ooh.
Well, I don't think she shit from anyone, either being a publisher. And I was behind deadline. She's, with all due respect, Richard, you're 3 months behind deadline. I was like, that's fair enough, but that's not got any effect on the cover. So yeah, I don't send aggressive emails. But that one, it was just very direct to the point. And I knew I wasn't going anywhere on it. So yeah, I think, it's another advice. Go back to your earlier question about giving advice, is just, you've got to have the confidence to stick with some of these battles, because sometimes the other person will be wrong.
Absolutely. It's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking. So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game. Let's start with life.
Death.
Money.
Power.
Family.
Non-family.
Okay. One word for love.
You know what? I'm thinking opposites. I need to not think opposites. I just keep going for the opposite of whatever you're saying. Love, connection.
One word for sex.
Bonding.
Politics.
Stink.
Religion.
Fake.
Fear.
For some reason, the word empowering is coming to mind. I don't know if that's because of fighting your fears.
Okay, I like that. One word for friendship.
Valuable.
Desire.
Valuable.
Regret.
I've got a whole bunch of words. Regret, inevitable.
Success.
Ooh. For some reason, the word in my mind is overrated.
Wish.
Sorry?
Wish.
Pointless.
Happiness.
Lifeblood.
One word for London.
Grey.
One word for Liverpool.
Open.
England. One word.
The first word that came to mind was cesspit. So negative. That's my first word.
Okay. One word for artist.
Truth.
And if you could, the last one, if you could define all your artwork in one word, what that would be?
Superficial. As awful as that sounds, fashion illustration is superficial. Fashion is superficial. It's image-based. There's a superficiality to it. It's I feel like I have to explain that one because it sounds contradictory to what I just said about art being truth. It's both. It's truth and it's superficial. It's how you deal with them, I guess. So the truth about how you deal with superficiality, that's a whole other conversation. My old stuff was more superficial in that sense, very direct. That's what fashion illustration is. My new stuff is more intimate. I wouldn't say that's superficial. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's pretend I'm going to meet your partner for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your partner, what is the most beautiful thing about Richard, and what's something that he still needs to work on, to improve on? What your partner would say?
The thing I need to work on the most is my pride, because I'm very defensive. Usually if someone's very critical, I can be very defensive. Hence why I tell students you need to be less defensive. Not always the best, and you have to understand your flaws. And I still need to work on that. I always do. The thing that I'm lovely for, I also am very giving. I get very spendy when it comes to holidays and stuff. I think I've inherited that from my mother, which is, I'm very caring and look after someone. I like to do things for people and to know that, like, I like being a host. If someone's staying over, I want to make sure they've got fresh bedding and a new set of towels and everything is like fresh when they walk in. And maybe that's some kind of narcissistic way of myself looking better in the process by doing that. But generous. I am generous. Yeah.
Okay. Let's play now Richard and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But actually, before you ask me the question, going back to the word association game, one word for Scouser.
Is what, sorry?
One word for Scouser.
Oh, well, that goes back to what I was saying about Liverpool, open. Everyone from Liverpool is very open. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but very open.
Amazing. You can ask me a question now, Richard.
What are you having for dinner?
Right. Good question. What I had for dinner today? I literally, because I had few interviews this evening, so I need to rush. So I had some rice, and I just fried a bit of eggs. I did like fried rice, and had some pate as well, like some pate with some crackers. It was like a very light dinner. I was rushed for the interviews. I was organized myself, and I was editing some videos as well. So it was, it's quite often for me to have a light lunch during the week when I'm doing interviews. That was my dinner. I love the question. I was expecting that.
Pate is a good one. Pate was less obvious. I love pate. I haven't had it in ages, actually.
Yeah, just like some crackers, something like that. I was at the same time I was kind of mixing the rice with some onions. I was with the pate, like the crackers, having something.
I'm gonna get some pate now. It's been a while, so that's inspired me.
Amazing. Did you enjoy the interview?
Yeah, it was fun. Easy.
Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time for the interview. Thanks for being so open and express yourself. I think it's amazing to see such an artist, just explaining about your arts and also about the meaning of it. I love when you said about, like the word association game about your arts, it can be superficial at the same time as well. It's amazing too. I never thought this way, actually. Amazing.
Okay. Maybe contradictory is the best word as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I like. That's what I liked it. And you were very honest about it. That's what I liked. Before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Be grateful for what you have got rather than what you haven't got. As basic as that is, it's really grounding, and it's really just about perspective. It's not necessarily about whittling yourself down to just accept the lowest lows, but we've always got more than someone else.
And it makes sense when you said actually, I like what you said at the beginning about your sense. You're grateful for your sense because, actually sometimes we forget that, to be grateful for those things that literally some people, they would, love to have, and for some reason they don't. So I think that's really, it's a good reminder for us always, to keep an eye on the thing, because we have so much, sometimes we forget that.
And just to add to that point, I mean, I do find it amazing when somebody doesn't have a certain physical ability, or, when you watch the Paralympics, I think these people are incredible who can manipulate and do things with their bodies that we wouldn't expect to do. I don't just mean it as if like somebody who's missing a sense or an ability is less, and actually they're more for that, I think that's just like fascinating. But at the same time, life is easier when you do have everything. So yeah, I think it's always something to be grateful for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the interview. It was a pleasure. Thanks so much, and keep in touch, and I'll see you in London sometime, okay?
Yes. All right, take care.
Take care, good night. Bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.